All right. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the shadow. The shadow is a term coined by Carl Jung. Carl Jung is one of my biggest heroes. He's one of the most influential minds in the realm of psychology and psychoanalysis. He worked under Sigmund Freud and, in my opinion, absolutely surpassed Freud in his own field. The shadow is the dark side of our personality, and it's a psyche term for everything we cannot see in ourselves. Everyone has a shadow or multiple shadows. We are made of many different parts. Our personality is made up of a lot of different sub-personalities. The shadow are the parts we disown. The shadow are the parts we no longer claim to be our own. We repress these parts and they are hidden in the shadows of our unconscious minds. These parts are there and they are present and looming, but we are not aware of their presence. These parts cannot be eliminated. Our shadow cannot be destroyed, but they can become hidden from us. Others can notice, but we have buried them so deep into our subconscious minds that we are so blind to these parts of us. Now I'm going to teach you how the shadow becomes a shadow. First, you have to go back to your childhood or think of how children act and how they are. Every single child knows kindness, love, and generosity. But also, every single child knows how to express anger, selfishness, and greed. Yet these parts are considered bad, and children get reprimanded, punished, and are discouraged from expressing these parts of themselves. So what children naturally learn to do is to hide these unaccepted parts from their conscious awareness. The repression of these unwanted parts creates a personal shadow. Yet even though we have buried these parts of us, they still present themselves without our awareness, and they work on autopilot. Here are some examples. We all do and say things we end up regretting later. We say things we wish we could take back, and even our facial expressions expose our true feelings to other people, even though we don't realize. It hurts our relationships. The thing is, because our shadow is not in our conscious awareness, we act before we realize we're doing these things. The shadow is so hidden from us, we never think to look at the root cause of why we reacted in those ways. Why could we not prevent those things from happening? Why couldn't we prevent those reactions the way that we reacted from occurring? Because your shadow is working on the subconscious level and is working on autopilot. I discovered my shadow for the first time last year while traveling the country. I was reading Carl Jung's book, Man and His Symbols. It was all about archetypes and subpersonalities, and he talked about the shadow. I researched it a little more through my trusty friend Google, and I discovered how to find your shadow. It was actually a lot simpler than you might think. One basic thing to look for: when you get irritated by other people's actions and behaviors, your shadow is likely present. Start paying closer attention to what that other person is doing, which is irritating you so much. I had my big epiphany when it came to my brother. My brother has caused me more irritation in my life than any other person. I swear to you, to me, he was the most selfish person I ever knew. He lacked the ability to put himself in other people's shoes, and he would always take and ask for things without ever offering or giving first. It drove me bonkers. Whenever he would act this way, I would poke the bear. I would jab him with a backhanded comment, or I would give him a dig. It really riled him up, and he got really defensive. You see, I have a big heart, and I always was able to get in another person's world and see what was going on from their perspective. I always thought I was altruistic and morally, I guess elite, but, morally more acute, supposedly. Then discovering the shadow work it hit me right in the face. Like, I'm not Gandhi or Mother Teresa. I'm actually very self-absorbed and not even close to being selfless. My dark side came up from the shadows, and I had to come to terms with this quality I despised in other people, especially my brother. I was selfish. Fudge. This can't be. I want everyone in the world to see that I'm perfect and I have no weaknesses. I was always a human being that didn't have any imperfections or didn't want to display them. Shucks, welcome to reality, Thomas. You are not perfect and no human being is perfect, and it's time to accept it. Discovering my shadow really didn't shake my core that much. If anything, it just set me free. Once I accepted that I was selfish, it freed me up from being irritated when other people were being selfish. All human beings are selfish on one level or another. We need to be selfish in order to survive. It wasn't that big of a pill to swallow. It cleared space between me and my brother, and our relationship grew tremendously after I acknowledged this. Another example. If you get irritated when someone's being rude to you, it's like you haven't owned your own rudeness. If the rudeness wasn't hidden away in the shadows, someone else's rudeness wouldn't bother you so much. Our false identities of being good keep us from connecting to our shadows. We're living in an illusion without our shadows present to us. The process of self-actualization and personal growth require noticing the good, the bad, and the ugly in each of us. It's time to own your own flaws, your weaknesses, your selfishness, your nastiness, and the hate that you spew. Here are the benefits you will get from doing shadow work. 1, it will improve your relationships like it did with me and my brother. 2, it'll improve your perception. It will increase your awareness. 3, it will clear your mind, especially from the reaction to other people's actions. 4, it will clear you emotionally so that you won't react irritated or get upset by other people's actions. 5, psychological integration, integrating all parts of your subpersonalities. 6, most importantly, you will grow your maturity. Vital. So here are some tips. First of all, everyone has a shadow. So while discovering your shadow, remember to have some self-compassion for yourself. Second, self-awareness is crucial. So spending lots of time reflecting and being mindful of what's going on in your world is important. Lastly, be brutally honest with yourself and ask others for their honesty. If you don't like their honesty, then see if you have a shadow around the area of criticism, because that was one of my shadows I discovered along the way. Here are ways to discover your shadow. First of all, watch your emotional reactions to other people, primarily everything that irritates you. Second, when watching TV and movies, identify with the villains and notice the characters that irritate you and why. Lastly, go online and find a list of negative qualities in human beings and find which ones resonate or strike a chord with you. Maybe it strikes a chord because that's your real shadow. It's in your shadow. So that's it. It's pretty simple and basic to discover it. And I think once you start opening your eyes to what really irritates you, you probably discover your shadow sooner than you realize. So good luck and go for it.